Hi there and welcome to yoga practice. My name is Jessica and today I'm going to be leading you through a yoga flow for creativity. So what we will be focusing on is our second chakra, and that is our sacral chakra, which is located in the hip region. So lots of deep hip openers, really bringing in lubrication into the hip sockets, and just giving you a sense of flow, right? So when we're in the flow state, we are really able to be creative when we are there. And so my intent is that you're able to leave the mat today feeling inspired with creativity in whatever roles you play in your life, whether you are in a traditionally creative role, if you're an artist, or if you aren't, because we are all creatives by nature, and there's always opportunities to bring our creativity. This is an all levels practice, so I will offer different variations. So just listen to your body. Only take the variations that you feel work best for your body, where you're at today in your practice, and knowing that from one day to another, your body might need something different. So just tune into what your body needs today. You might need a couple of blocks if you have them. I'll show a couple of variations utilizing the blocks. Completely optional, so if you don't have them, no worries at all. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and begin. So finding a comfortable seated position that works best for you, whether you have your legs crossed in Sukhasana like I am, you might even come into Hero's pose, you can sit on a block, whatever feels most comfortable for you. So we'll begin by gently closing the eyes if it's accessible to you, or you can allow the gaze to point gently downwards. And just tune into your breath. Just notice and observe how your breath is. Is it fast? Is it slow? And what can you do to make a subtle shift in your breath to make it equal in length between the inhales and the exhales? Really finding that place of equanimity, which is really going to bring us right here, centered, and ready for practice today. And as you are focusing on the breath here, I invite you to set an intent for your practice today around the theme of creativity, whatever that means for you today. Maybe consider how you will exercise your creativity today, in the coming days, the coming weeks. On the next inhale, just breathe in that intention throughout your body. And on the exhale, just release whatever might be holding you back in your creativity. When you're ready, start to slowly blink the eyes to open. We'll get into our movement practice now. So we'll begin with some spine stretches, starting out with a seated cat and cow. So on your next exhale, begin to round the spine, bringing navel to spine, coming into a cat. On the inhale, bringing the chest forward, opening up the heart forward into your cow pose. And just continue with this movement, connecting with your breath, moving with the inhales and the exhales. One more breath cycle. And coming to neutral. Going into a spinal twist, we're going to inhale the arms up and overhead, exhaling to twist to the right. Gaze looks over the right shoulder. Shoulders are melting away from the ears. I'm just breathing here. Exhaling to come out of the pose. Inhaling the arms back overhead, taking the twist onto the other side. Right hand rests on left knee. Shoulders away from the ears, twisting to the left. Ensuring that both hips are equally grounded into the mat beneath you. Just breathing here, feeling yourself melt a little bit deeper into the twist with each exhale. And exhaling to center. If you have your legs crossed, go ahead and switch them in the other way. Inhaling the arms up and overhead once again. We're going to take a lateral bend to the right side. So right arm, right hand beside your right hip, gently bending over to the right, feeling a sense of expansion through the left side of the body, really grounding down through that left hip. Opening the chest forward and just breathing here, feeling yourself sink deeper into the pose with each exhale. And inhale to bring the arms up and overhead. Exhale to bring the left arm down. Right arm comes up and over, lateral bend to the left. Feeling the expansion and opening through the right side of the body this time. Grounding down through the right hip, shoulders are melting away from the ears. And just breathing here. And inhale to bring everything up and exhale to bring the hands down. Let's go ahead and take a wide-legged child's pose here. So toes are touching, knees are about mat width apart. Stretching the arms out in front of you, letting the chest melt down towards the mat between the hips. We're going to take a variation of thread the needle here. So starting with the right hand. Start to draw the right hand across the chest, across your body, up and overhead, and then exhale to thread it behind the left arm, melting the right shoulder down to the mat, right ear to the mat. Your left arm and palm might stay out in front. You can bring it in towards your face, or you can even bring the back of your hand to the small of your back if you want a gentle bind. And as you're here, just working the hips towards the heels. Feeling a nice twist through the thoracic section of our spine here towards the upper back. And to come out of the pose, bring the left arm forward if it isn't there already. Inhaling the right arm back up overhead. Exhaling to gently bring it back down to the mat. Taking that to the other side. Left hand draws across the body, up towards the sky. And then exhaling to thread it behind the right arm. Left shoulder melts to the mat, left ear to the mat. Taking that right palm wherever you like. Maybe taking a bind by placing the back of the hand behind the small of your back. And just breathing here. To come out of the pose, we bring the right arm and hand back in front. Inhaling to lift the left arm up and overhead, exhaling to bring it back down to the mat. We're going to walk the hands over to the right, so the right hand comes a little bit off the mat. Left hand meets the right hand. Maybe it comes on top of the right hand, but we're going to just take a lateral bend here, sinking into the pose, feeling a nice stretch through the left side of the body. Just taking a couple of breaths here. And exhale to come out, walking through the center to come to the other side. Left hand comes to the left of the mat, right hand meets the left, sinking into the pose here, feeling the opening on the right side of the body this time. Just breathing through that right side of the body. And we'll go ahead and exhale to come back to center. Starting to inhale up to a tabletop position. Let's check our alignment briefly. So wrists are about shoulder distanced apart, and they are stacked right below the shoulders. Our knees are hip distance apart, and they are stacked right below our hips. So once you've found Your positioning here, start to tuck the toes underneath. We're going to draw the hips up into our first downward facing dog of our practice. So feel free to take whatever movement feels comfortable for you here. You're bringing some movement into the legs by walking out your dog. Maybe holding one side, feeling a stretch behind the leg. And then taking that stretch on the other side. And being that this is our first downward facing dog, you can feel free to have your knees as bent as needed and the heels as far away from the mat as necessary. On the next exhale, we are going to step the right foot forward in between the hands, dropping the left knee to the ground, untucking the left toes, coming into low lunge or Anjaneyasana. Fingertips can stay on the ground, framing the right foot. The right foot is directly below the right knee, so we want to make sure that we are not coming forward of the ankles. You can bring the hands to the thighs, heart center, or maybe stretched overhead. Drawing both thighs into the midline of the body, feeling a nice stretch through the psoas on the right leg. The left leg. I'm just breathing here. And exhale to bring the hands to the mat. We're going to shift the hips back towards our left foot and come into a runner's lunge, extending that right leg in front of us. Again, we're drawing the hips in towards one another, really feeling that sense of opening through the back of the right leg as we are in our runner's lunge, hinging from the hips. And coming back forward through our lunge, let's go ahead and plant the palms, take that right knee back to meet the left, and come back up into a downward facing dog. Exhaling this time to bring the left foot in between the hands, dropping that right knee, untucking the right toes, making sure that our left knee is stacked above the left ankle, taking the hands wherever you'd like, whether it's on the floor, the thighs, heart center, or up overhead. Again, we are really aiming to keep the hips on a neutral flat plane, so really pulling in both thighs in towards one another. Feeling the opening through the psoas on the right side this time. Navel up and in, shoulders away from the ears. Exhaling the hands to the mat, shifting the hips back into runner's lunge on the left. Feeling the stretch behind the left leg this time, hinging forward at the hips. Coming back through our low lunge, planting the palms, bringing the left knee to meet the right. Downward facing dog. Let's take a couple breaths here. If you need to bring some more movement to your down dog, feel free to do so. If you need a child's pose, feel free to take that here. And in fact, feel free to take it at any point during our practice today. On the next inhale, we're going to lift the right leg behind us, exhaling to bring the knee forward. Right foot steps in between the hands. We're coming into our warrior series, Virabhadrasana 1. So spinning onto the heel of your left foot. So your toes are kind of making a 45-degree angle outwards. And just checking our alignment with our heels. We can either be in a heel-to-heel alignment where they are kind of in the same line, or if you want some more stability, you can feel free to widen your stance just a bit. So once you're there, you found your footing, start to ground down into both feet and rise up to your warrior 1. Hands can be on the hips, heart center, or stretched overhead. Really feeling the energy coming up from the outer part of your left foot all the way up. Drawing that right hip into the midline of the body. On the next exhale, we're going to fan the arms out to the sides, warrior two. Gaze points over the right fingertips, grounding down equally into both feet. Shoulders are stacked upon the hips, crown of the head is stacked upon the pelvis. On the next inhale, we're going to flip the right palm upward and then bring the arm up and overhead into our reverse warrior. The left hand can just rest gently anywhere on the left leg. The gaze can point upwards, and your hand is kind of in line with your ear there. Really working that chest open towards the sky. Coming back through our warrior two, coming into extended side ankle. So hinging forward at the hips. You can bring that front forearm on top of the thigh, and then we can bring the left arm up and overhead. Feel free to take the arm down to the mat. Also a great opportunity to utilize your blocks if you'd like. You should feel a line of energy running from the outside of the left foot through the left fingertip, so it's like a straight line. And on the next inhale, we come up to warrior two, straightening that front knee, and then we'll start to heel toe our feet towards the side of our mat. So our toes are now facing on the diagonal, the corners of our mat. We're setting up for our goddess. So first things first, we want to make sure that when we come into our goddess and start to bend our knees, we should be able to see our toes past our knees, and the knees are kind of lined up with about the second toe. So just check your alignment there. We want to make sure that we're not splaying forward in the knees and really using your glutes to push your knees backwards. So once you're there, hands can be at the hips, heart center. You can have them outstretched or even overhead. So just take it where you'd like and just tap into your strength here, your inner god, your inner goddess, as we are in our goddess pose. If you want to bring some heat in your practice, you're welcome to take some pulses here as well. Just breathing through the pose, bringing a little bit of heat to the body, feeling a little bit of a quiver, and inhaling to come out, straightening the knees. Bring the feet to be a little bit more in than parallel, and you can start to walk the hands down to the mat for a wide-legged forward fold. Just feeling a nice release in the legs, bringing some coolness to the legs after bringing in some heat. And then we'll go ahead and walk over to the other side of the mat. So you should now be facing the left side of your mat. Setting up for our warrior one on this side. So you might need to adjust your feet just a bit, and remembering what we talked about on the other side, you can either have a heel to heel alignment or a little bit of a wider stance for more stability. Right toes are now making a 45-degree angle out. Once you've found your footing, start to rise up into your warrior one. Working that right knee kind of forward, and then drawing the left hip backwards. So they're meeting in the center. Navel draws in, shoulders away from the ears. Really tapping into the strength of your warrior here. Exhaling to bring the hands to the sides, coming into our warrior two. So in our warrior two, our feet really haven't changed position from our warrior one. The only thing that's really changing is the position of our hips. So we were front facing, now we're kind of on the diagonal here. Gaze points over the left fingertips. Inhaling to flip the front palm up, and then taking that up and overhead into our reverse warrior. The warrior poses are a really great opportunity to balance strength with flexibility and even some balance. So these are all strengths, all traits of a true warrior. Inhaling to come back up to your warrior, hinging forward at the hips to come into extended side angle, Parsvakonasana. Bringing the forearm to the top of the front thigh here, and extending that right arm up and overhead in line with your ears. You can bring the fingertips to the floor if it's in your practice, or even use a block here. Just breathing through the pose. Inhaling to come back up through warrior two, and taking that bend out of the front knee, coming back to the side of our mat, setting up for our goddess. Taking the hands where you'd like. You can either stay static in the pose, or you can feel free to take some pulses here, whatever it is that your practice calls for today. Making sure we're breathing here, especially when it gets discomforting, right? We can always return back to the breath to bring a sense of calm. And inhaling to come up, bringing the toes to face slightly inward, and then walking the hands down to a wide-legged forward fold. You can feel free to let go of the neck here a bit, shaking it out. And we're gonna walk it back over to the front of our mat. Both sets of toes are facing forward, coming down into a lizard pose. So you can drop that back knee. Both hands are coming to the inside of the right foot, and you might walk your right foot a little bit to the right. So you might feel really comfortable here on the fingertips or even on the palms, or you might start to come down on your elbows if that's in your practice. Wherever you are, really working that right knee in towards your right shoulder. You might even want to come up off of the back knee, only if that's in your practice. Again, we want to listen to our body, only take the poses where we want to today. Inhaling to come up. We're going to take a triangle pose, Trikonasana. So bringing the left foot in just a little bit, maybe about a foot or so. And the toes are facing about the corner of your mat on the left side. Hand can rest on top of the foot, the shin. You could even use a block here if desired. And we're gonna start to draw the left arm up towards the sky, coming into our triangle pose. Really working the right shoulder away from the ear. Aiming to have both sides of our obliques stretching nice and long. Just breathing here. We're going to set up now for half moon. So you can bring that left arm down, hands on hips. Start to bend in the front knee. And then you can take the block with you if you're going to be using your block. But you'll be setting up your right palm to be in front of and kind of to the side of your right foot. So if you keep hinging forward, eventually you'll feel like you can float the left foot behind you. And then you can bring the left arm up. If it's available to you, the gaze can point to the side of the room or down towards the mat. If you lose your balance, no worries at all. You can just jump right back in. come out of the pose, we're going to come out the same way we came in. So start to bend in the right foot, left hand to left hip, coming through our warrior two. And we're just gonna cartwheel the hands down, spinning up on the left toes and coming to a child's pose here. Breathing here. Feeling as though you could release anything that might be holding you back. Anything that might be blocking your creativity. Anything that no longer serves. Just let it go here on the mat today. Inhaling to come back up through tabletop, coming into downward facing dog. Inhaling the right foot up, bringing the right knee forward, right foot plants between the palms, and then we're just gonna walk to the other side of the mat. So you should be facing the back of your mat now. Taking that same sequence on the left side. So setting up for lizard, both sets of toes are facing forward. You can walk the left foot out a little bit, dropping the right knee, staying up on the hands for your lizard or coming down to your elbows. You could even use a block here too to bring the floor up a little bit higher towards you. Working that left knee in towards your left shoulder. Just breathing here. This is a pretty deep stretch for the hips here. Just observing what might be coming up. Simply observing with curiosity, no judgment. Coming up onto the hands, coming up off the knee, setting up for our triangle pose. So you might walk in the right foot, just about a foot or so. The right toes are facing the right corner of your mat. Hand comes to the foot, shin, or on a block, or even on the mat, if it's accessible to you. Coming up into our triangle on the left side. Trikonasana. It never really occurred to me until recently, but when we're in a triangle pose, we're actually making a triangle in different parts of our body. So just, bring your awareness to that and consider what shapes you're taking right now. Where are the triangles in your body? And with that, consider the shape shifting that you do in your life. What are some of the ways that your life calls for you to be creative as you change shapes from one role to the next? Setting up for our half moon, you can bring that right hand to right hip, gaze points downward, start to bend in that front knee, bringing the left hand forward into the left of the left foot until you can slowly start to float the right foot behind you. Gaze points downwards, maybe to the side, maybe you float your right arm up. And just feel how strong you are right here in this pose, wherever you are. In this pose, in the practice, in the journey, consider all that it took for you to be here right now. And give yourself thanks for that. Coming out of the pose the way we came in, bringing the right hand to right hip, bending in that left knee to come back through our warrior two, cartwheeling the hands down to the floor, spinning up onto the right foot, and then dropping back into a child's pose. Take some deep breaths here. We've done a lot of work on our feet today, so now we are going to focus on starting to ground things. We're going to be staying on the mat to conclude our practice. So when you're ready on the next inhale, coming up to tabletop, we're going to extend the left foot behind us, and then exhale to bring the knee forward, setting up for pigeon on the left. So the left knee is facing the left corner of your mat, left foot is flexed to protect that knee. And you're simply gonna walk the right foot back behind you. Toes and knees are facing towards the mat. And you can either stay up on your fingertips here, or you can take it down to the elbows, maybe stack the palms. If you have a block, you could use that for support as well. We're going to stay here for a few moments, so really bring your breath to those areas of discomfort. The hips tend to store a lot of emotion, so just observe any emotions that might be arising at this time. Let them arise, observe them without judgment, almost as though you were watching birds passing through in the sky overhead. Just simply watching. And on the inhale, we walk ourselves up. And then shift back onto the glutes, and we're just going to take that onto the opposite side. So facing the front of your mat this time. Right knee is facing pointing towards the right corner of your mat. Right feet are flexed to protect the knee, walking the left foot back. Straighten the knee and toes on the left are facing towards the mat. So again, just taking the pose where you want to, whether you're up on your fingertips or down towards the mat. And it might feel a bit different on this side, so simply tune into what those differences are. You know, from day to day, we might have the same routine. Maybe we go to work, maybe we have children that we tend to, maybe, a whole number of roles that we play in different tasks that we perform throughout the course of our day. But each day brings something different, right? And there's always something to learn from those differences. So like we might take the same pose on the other side, and it might feel different. The same thing goes from day to day. Same thing, same tasks, but maybe there is something different that you can learn from. Pigeon is a great pose for hips because it works both hips in different ways. So we're really working the psoas on the extended leg and working a nice opening on the hip on the right side, in this case, in your bent leg. Start to come up out of the pose. You can move your blocks to the side. We won't be needing them anymore. And we're just going to come to the mat now. So keeping the feet parallel. You might hold on to the knees or the backs of the thighs, and we're just going to roll down really slowly, vertebra by vertebra. As slowly as you can, resisting the urge to want to just flop down on the mat. So we're going to set up for bridge pose. It's important when we are in bridge that our gaze remains pointed towards the ceiling. So I'm going to do my best to cue you here so that you don't have to look at the video. But you'll want to walk your feet in close to your bottom, and the feet are facing forward and are about hips distance apart. You'll know that you're set up correctly if you can kind of graze the backs of your heels with your fingertips. So we want to ground down into both feet equally, as well as the hands and the arms. And as you do that, you'll start to float the hips upward. Hips come up towards the sky, chest lifts forward. Feeling a line of energy from your neck through your chest all the way out through your hips and both knees. And your knees are kind of pointing towards that area where the ceiling meets the wall. You might walk your hands inward, squeezing the shoulders together, grasping the hands behind you. Just breathe here, feeling the strength in your hips and your legs, front and back of your legs. And if you have a grasp here, go ahead and switch the grasp. So the opposite thumb on top, it should feel a little bit awkward there. And we'll just take a couple more breaths here. If you have the hands grasped, go ahead and release and slowly start to roll the spine back down towards the mat. Let's go ahead and take a ball here and rock from side to side, feeling a nice massage on the lower back and on the hips. And then maybe you might draw circles with the knees in one direction and in the other. Taking a happy baby pose. So elbows come to the inside of the knees and the hands grasp the outside edge of the feet, drawing that tailbone towards the mat. So you should almost feel like your entire back is pressed into the mat. You can rock side to side as I am doing. That might feel nice, or you can simply be static in the pose too. Go ahead and release. We'll take the right ankle on top of the left knee, coming into a figure four stretch. You can grasp behind the left thigh or the shin, keeping that right foot flexed to protect the right knee and working the knee away from the face, feeling a stretch through your right glute and the right hip. And exhale to release the left foot to the mat, crossing the right knee over, kind of coming into an eagle position with the legs. We're going to kick the hips towards the right side, dropping both knees to the left side of the mat. Taking the right hand to the side of the body, you can either stretch it out or you can bring it to a cactus position, and you can allow the gaze to point towards the right, feeling a nice twist towards the right. And just wringing out whatever no longer serves you. Inhaling to bring back everything to the center, repositioning the hips, taking that onto the other side. So figure four on the left ankle comes to right knee, grasping behind the thigh or the shins, keeping that left foot flexed, and the right knees are working away from the face here. Dropping that right foot to the ground, eagle-izing the legs, kicking the hips towards the left of the mat and bringing both knees towards the right. Gaze looks over the left shoulder. You can either outstretch the hand or bring it to a cactus position. Just breathe into your twist here. Feeling yourself twist just a little bit deeper with each exhale. And on the inhale, bringing everything back into center. Setting up for our final resting pose, Shavasana. So start to windshield wiper the knees back and forth, releasing the lower back. And just keep doing that until your feet come to straight, or your legs come to straight rather, you can either have your legs in a traditional Shavasana like so. If you want to continue with the hip openers, you could even come to Supta Baddha Konasana, a butterfly position. You could use the blocks underneath the thighs to allow it to be more of a restorative pose. Hands can be on the belly. They can be to the sides. Maybe you have one hand on the heart. And just let go here. Allow yourself to be held by the mat. Let go of any control you have over your body, over your breath. Just simply let everything go. This is a time of rest, a time to really simmer in the effects of the practice and all of the good that you've cultivated in your body during this practice. As you lie here, I would invite you to focus on the intention that you set at the beginning of practice around creativity. Consider how this practice has impacted your creative abilities. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's profound, or maybe it's just simply brought a deeper awareness of your creative abilities. Consider how you'll be creative as you step off of your mat today. And just enjoy this time. Enjoy the effects of your practice. I'm going to be silent now for a few moments to allow you to go inward and just rest easy, knowing that I will let you know when it's time to return to the room. Bringing some slight movement back into the body, maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes, rolling out the wrists, the ankles. Just bringing an awareness back to your body. You might stretch the arms overhead and take a stretch from fingers to toes, gently awakening yourself, bringing your presence back to the room. And rolling onto one side, any side of your choice. And gently pushing yourself away from the ground to come up to a comfortable seated position. And keeping the eyes closed here. Just consider how this practice has inspired your creativity, how you might take your creativity to the next level, how you might bring creativity to aspects of your life that maybe you didn't think of before that could use your creativity. There's always an opportunity for creativity, and there's a creative that lives in all of us. Bringing the hands to heart center. Thanking yourself for showing up, thanking yourself for all that you went through to be here on the mat today. I certainly thank you for being here with me today. And to close, like to say that the light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope that you enjoyed this practice. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit of more mobility in the hips. You hopefully are feeling a greater sense of flow. As we talked about earlier, when we're able to get into that flow state, it really allows us to really be our best creatively. So I hope that you're feeling that. If you like this practice, I do have a root-based root chakra practice. It's a chair-based flow, so I'll link it here. And if you're enjoying taking movement through the chakras of the body, I will continue on with this journey over the coming weeks. The next focus will be on our solar plexus, so lots of heat in the core area. So thank you once again for joining me, and I hope to see you on the mat again soon. Take care.